Start off with a bio. Tell the good folks who you are and go.
Cool, man. So my name is Darryl Terrell, man. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, born and raised. Started the automotive industry as young as I can remember. My dad was a service manager. He was a technician. So I guess I didn't have a choice, but I had to go to work with him on Sundays. At the age of 10, a lot of my task was cleaning the shop, picking wheel weights up by the wheel balancing machine. This is at the age of 10, and then by the time I got older, man, he finally let me touch a car, do all changes, tire rotations, typical maintenance on vehicles. And then I went to high school and I started an automotive program in my high school. Pretty much they had an apprentice program. They taught you, from A1 to A8, well, ASE certifications. So I took that course in high school. In my high school, they allowed two guys at the end of each year to intern in a dealership. And I was selected as one of those guys to intern at a dealership. So I got into a dealership at a young age of 15. They paired me with the master technician, and I learned a lot, man. I learned how a real automotive shop is actually ran. It's not all roaches, it's not all peasy and roses, man. It's a lot of nitty gritty stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So they paired me with the master tech, and he pretty much put me under his wing. He taught me, from square one, how to diagnose a car effectively, taught me the proper way of a dealership. And I gained a lot of confidence under him. I believe it's funny because when you start off as a tech, you believe you're better than what you really are, because the guy that's training you, he makes everything look so easy. So then when you actually have to do it yourself, it's not as easy as it looks. Some advice I could give you as a tech is, as a young tech in the industry is have patience. You're gonna make mistakes, but learn from mistakes. Don't be the guy to believe it's only one way to do something. Just focus on whenever you make a mistake, learn from it and move on, get better. And then
Yeah, that's awesome advice. Like that's super awesome advice. Like Lewis Hamilton comes off the track, and every time he talks to somebody, you can hear him on camera. Almost every time that he's coaching somebody, or he's talking to a teammate, or he's talking to another or somebody. He said this on camera. I think I've heard him about 3 or 4 times now. When you go out, you get in the car, you go around. It doesn't matter whether it's a trial run, whether it's a break-in, whether it's burn-in, whatever the case may be. Every time you go out in the track, every time you're in that car and you go around the track, take notes. Doesn't matter what's 1 lap, 100 laps, 500 laps. It doesn't matter. Take notes, because every time you get in that car, you're learning something either about yourself, how you're driving, or the car. And all of that feedback along the way is either going to help you, help your team, help the engineers, or help somebody. That every time it doesn't have to be a failure. It doesn't have to be a failure. It could be wins. It could be it could just be information. That could be an abundance of information, but that little tidbit, big deal.
Correct. So then that technician, he actually left the dealership, and I seen how this was the first time I was exposed to how techs get offers from different shops, and this tech is pulled to the next shop. And I actually seen the politics of a dealership. So they linked me he left the shop, they linked me with another master tech. And this is when I realized that it is a lot of money to make in the automotive industry. So I was an intern, I was making minimum wage, and I got my paycheck one day, and it was like $360. And they took $30 out on taxes. And I was like, man, this is crazy, $30 in taxes. And he was like, what are you complaining about? You should be happy. And I'm like, look at my check. And this was the first time I realized what a grown man paycheck looks like. It was like $2,800. They took out like $600 in taxes. And I was like, $600 in taxes in a week? And then the most amazing part was he said, yeah, this is back in the day when there was no direct deposit. And he said, yeah, man. And look, he pulled out another drawer. He said, here's another one. I didn't even cash this one yet. And I was like, you have $5,000 sitting in your hands, man. So at that point, man, I was like, look, whatever he's doing, I'm going to do, and I'm going to be a tech. And I watched how he was just efficient. He didn't waste any time. If his hands wasn't touching the car, he wasn't making money. That was his motto. He limited his time in the parts department. He limited his time with talking to guys in the shop. He was just working, 2, 3 cars. He had a process, parts order for this one, parts order for this one. And it was just a streamlined process. It was just nonstop working from the time he got there to the time he left.
That takes so much too, right? Like
Correct.
that's not just just a guy that's walked into the dealership day one and started. That's years of practice of knowing your craft. And on top of all of that, that's working for a store that's going like, this person can produce. We got to make sure that this guy has always got work, and he's got to have work coming in. They got to have stuff queued up. They got to have stuff prepped for him, because you get somebody who can produce 150, 160, 170% on the day, every day, day
Correct.
after day. It's really hard to schedule just for that person. Like, it's
So
really hard to schedule for just that person.
correct. So here's the crazy thing about that, Josh. So now I'm working under this guy, and he's averaging 70, 80 hours a week. And so I think it's easy because I'm helping him work on the cars, but I don't realize that it's his experience why everything is going so smooth and so easy. I'm thinking that I'm doing a lot of work, That
You get
internship,
cocky real quick.
seriously. That internship finished. I ended up going to college because I played football also in high school. So I played some football in college. I tore my ACL in college, and that was the end of my football career. And so now I get a job in an oil change shop, and it was a big franchise, and I want my goal was to be a technician. So I was like, I'll just get my foot in the door, the oil changer, they'll promote me. So every chance I got to diagnose something, I jumped on it, tried my best. I struggled, but for some reason it wasn't as easy when I had this other guy, over me, But so long story short, man, the recession came, they ended up laying me off, man. And so what I did that night when I got laid off, man, I said, you know what, man, I'm not going to apply to the oil change anymore. I'm going to go on the line. I'm going to apply to every technician job I could possibly find. And that's what I'm going to do. And so I applied, and the job called me up the next day. They ended up hiring me on the spot. I went from making, I don't really want to talk financials, but I mean, I'm just going to tell you guys the real honest truth. I went from making $9 an hour to making $16.50 an hour overnight by getting laid off. So when they told me my rate, I was like, sure, no problem. I really didn't have any experience as a technician. So my first day on the job, well, actually first week on the job, man, I struggled big time, man. They would give me vehicles to diagnose, suspension, squeaks, rattles, check engine light diagnostics. And I was kind of lost because I seen, somebody turn 70, 80 hours a week and how easy it was. And now I'm struggling to make 20, 30 hours a week. And it was kind of discouraging. In that shop, I had one guy that was older than me, and he used to always laugh at me every time I had a comeback or mess up, and he would laugh at me. And so one time I said, hey, what are you laughing at, Rob? And he was like, you know why I laugh at you? I said, why? He said, because everything you mess up, I did before, and I'm watching you make the same mistakes I made. So I was like, so what are you doing? What am I doing wrong? And he said, stop worrying about money and worry about fixing the car. And at that time I was young, I was trying to make money, and I was worried about making, this is the real truth, I was worried about making money, man, buying car parts, buying motorcycles.
You know what? I think all of us, I can't speak for everybody, but the group of 5 that I was with when I first started, we had a great foreman, and I'll say this until I'm blue in the face. We had a great foreman at the time, and we weren't allowed to think about money because it was, no, that's not, that car's not leaving until it's fixed. That's not right. But no, it's not right. It's not right. Fix it. And right. It wasn't until later on when I wasn't around them anymore, I got cocky a bit and I started worrying about the money, and then the comebacks come. And then you realize, get back to basics, just fix the car. Don't worry about the money. If you fix the car, the money will come.
Yes, sir. 100%. And I lost a lot of money by chasing the money, working on comebacks for free. I saved a lot. Another thing that hit me too with an advisor. So I was always a hustler, never lazy. Whatever you asked me to do, I would do. So one of these advisors, he came to me, he said, Darryl, I will give you every single one of my cars because I love the way you work if you would just road test your cars. Road test your cars properly. And I was like, why? Like, what's going on? He's like, look, your comebacks you have are real petty comebacks that you would catch on road test. All you got to do is road test the car, road test your cars. If he didn't give me that advice, when I first started out road test, it could be around the block. But like when you really road test your cars, efficiently getting up to temperatures, making sure the rotors are at certain temperatures, brakes at certain temperatures, you catch all your mistakes on the road test because mistakes happen, but you catch them on your road test and they give you a chance to fix them before the customer get it. I started road testing my cars. I became probably one of I don't want to sound like I never road test my cars. I always road test my car. I just mean I road test my cars a lot harder than just around the block and back in the parking lot. As I became probably from one of the worst techs in that shop to one of the best techs in that shop.
Just by road testing.
Just by road testing, by not worrying about money, by worrying about fixing the car right. taking my time to diagnose a car, like really getting out to and understanding it and understanding your diagnostics. And once I took my career serious, it just went off to the next level. And the next level,
you started worrying about the car.
correct.
Stop worrying about, and we get back to roots. Stop worrying about money. Stop worrying about yourself. Stop worrying about the guys around you. Stop worrying about the shop. Worry about the car. Fix the car.
Correct. And then I'm not sure in Canada, but in America, we have the ASC certifications. It's 8 tests. You get all 8, you become master certified. So I wanted to become a master tech. So I started taking my test when I started taking my test. I took 3 tests at one time and I failed all 3 of them miserably. So, I mean, the moral to that story is like, for me anyway, if you take them one at a time, you focus on that one test. To me, it was easy to pass each test, taking them one at a time, instead of trying to gather them up 3 and 4 tests at a time and not really focus on the content of each test, and you end up failing all of them. But I do know some guys that could take, 8 tests in a day and pass all 8 of them, but for me, what got me to pass the test was taking them one at a time. And I got on my test, I became master tech certified. So now at that point, I was game to any shop in the nation. No shop would turn out a master tech if you come in the door asking for a job. And so my value raised.
How does the master tech now? I'm a little different. So this is where I think the States and Canada really differ. In Canada, we have an entire apprenticeship to journeyman process. You can work in a shop, but you're not going to work in a shop very long, other than being, push a broom, maybe do some oil changes, maybe do tires. You might be in a tire only shop and you do nothing but tires. People will call you a mechanic. You'll call yourself a mechanic, but you're not. You change tires. There's still liability on there, and there really should be a licensed mechanic in there. But for the most part, most of those tire shops, they might have one in 7 or 8 guys. And I know some locally that are like that. But in Canada, for the most part, if you want to be a licensed mechanic, you become a licensed mechanic. You start in a shop. A shop must sign you to the apprenticeship program. Okay, shop certified to be, it's a shop certified shop. You become a certified apprentice. You have a certain amount of hours. I don't know what today's hours are in the automotive industry. I think it's 5,000 hours. I could be wrong. My memory's fuzzy on that one, but you have a certain amount of hours that you have to accrue working, not just a year or whatever, 2 years. It's working legitimate hours in the trade, in a certified shop, and you have to complete school. And there's different ways to complete schooling, but fundamentally, and going back to the way I did it back 03 to 05, actually earlier than that, 03 to 05, level 1, 2, 3, did it in block release, we called them. And it's 2 months straight of level 1. You go back to work for a period of time. Some do it as fast as they can. Some do it as long duration between as they can. But it's 8 weeks work, 8 weeks work, 8 weeks work. And then once you've accrued your hours, and you have a book that you have to get filled out by the person who you are working with, because somebody in the shop has to be reviewing your work, because technically you're not a licensed tech, so you shouldn't be working on engines without somebody double checking your work. So there's a little booklet for each section in the car. You've got suspension, you've got steering, you've got tires, you've got brakes, you've got engine, you've got transmission, diffs, and all the kit and caboodle. So you got to fill that whole book out with, you've done these things. And there's lots and lots. I think there's several hundred things that you have to check off in there. And add on top of that, once all of that's done, once the book's done, once your hours are done, once your school is successfully passed, then you get the opportunity to write the certificate of qualification. We call them CFQ. So when you write that test, you must pass with 70% to become licensed. If you write that test and you pass that test with 90% or better, you become a Red Seal certified technician, which I am. And that Red Seal docket means that you are able to practice mechanics across this country. So it is a nationally recognized certificate. Whereas if I understand correctly, you guys don't have that. Somebody can walk up to a shop and say, hey, I'm a mechanic that has tools. And it's like, hey, I've been doing it for 10 years. And other than maybe a reference from shops that he's worked at, this guy may have just been working on it in his backyard, if I understand correctly. Unless you have the ASE certifications or dealership certifications, but there is no specific unified trade license for mechanics in the States. Am I correct?
Correct. It isn't. Yeah, it is none. Nope. I mean, if a guy did walk off the street and he did claim that he could fix cars, if he can't fix cars, I mean, he wouldn't last in
You're going to
any
find
of
out
those.
real quick.
Correct, correct. So, I mean, we don't really face too many of those challenges. Usually, most of the time, people that do come in applying for vehicle, technicians, they are mechanics. But I can see how possibly that could happen. To get a manufacturer's master certification, it does take a lot of intensive training. So you got to have your ASCs, but then the manufacturer, so like Nissan, they send me to, I did probably about 20 hands-on courses in Atlanta and in Tennessee. And also, it's probably about 120 virtual courses you got to do. And once you pass those courses, hands-on courses, they test you as well. Then they'll give you your Master Tech certification from the manufacturer. Mm-hmm. So ASC is like a generic master certification, and then each manufacturer will have their level of a certification as well.
And if you got to understand correctly, your ASC certifications, they're a competency certification, right? So the ASC is a test. It's not a course that you take to pass a test. The ASC is simply saying that, hey, I've passed this test that says that I know how to do these things, correct?
Correct.
Right. And then your manufacturer certifications, no different they are here in Canada. It's probably even the same courses. Like I think I had my complete level 2, like all of the up to and including all of the level 2 Dodge stuff completed, and a smattering of level 3 things. I think I was at the point where I was now biding, like I was in the queue list for all of the really limited run courses. So like the level 3 or 3 plus diagnostic EV course, where they held it once a year and it only had 6 spots in it, and you had like thousands of techs across the country wanting to get into that course. So it was like cream of the crop got picked, and I was probably a bit of politics in there, but cream of the crop managed to get in. But you had to have all of your level 2 before you even try and get level 3 courses. Right, and I think the one that I had the most in was probably diagnostics and transmissions. I think I had complete and it was just limited run courses that I was struggling to get into by the time I left the bench for Dodge.
What did you specialize? What do you specialize in? What do you like doing as a mechanic? Like which field, like electrical, engine diagnostic, AC, which is your favorite field to work in?
I think you can leave off the subcategory, just diagnostics in general. I really like the problem solving aspect of it. That and engines. If I could have been at a shop, this is unfortunate for customers. I wish I could have been at a shop that did lots of engines. Like there are dealerships that I heard of around the country that seem to smatter that they were constantly doing engines. Obviously their customer base were really bad at changing oil. So, when you've got 4, 5, 6 engines out waiting to be done or whatever outside in the service lot, I would love to be that person. The downside being is most of them were done under warranty or done kind of under warranty under Goodwill. Well, labor times on engines really sucked. But at the time, between 2007 and 2011, doing diagnostics, that's when they were really trying to hammer paying diagnostics. So it went from, we called it the 00 time. Back then it was 85, 54, 0000, and it was straight time. So as long as you punch your time, use the right code, it was straight time. As long as you could justify everything you did. And then I think somewhere between 2010 and 2012, they capped it. It was 0.3, period. Anything over 0.3, you had to call engineering to get authorization to do the test. So that's when it really started to get tough because, 0.3 is get the keys, get the work order, get in the car, maybe let it start and warm up because it was minus 20 outside. So you'd burned your 0.3 by the time you got in the car. So that's when it became really tough. And that's when you really had, and that was a time when, you had somebody who was doing 2, 3, 4 cars a time. At the time, I had the luxury of having a couple of apprentices, a couple of co-op kids. So I always had something mechanical on the hoist, and I always had some kind of something beside me in an empty bay because I was on the corner bay. And I was doing diagnostic, and I'd be calling the apprentices, hey, have a look at this, I found it. Have a look. Yeah, look, we found it with a scope or whatever. And then they'd be doing oil changes, and I'd come over, check the tire, check, you check this? Yes. What is it? Yeah. Okay. Send the request in, and, they do the heavy lifting. I'd help him out. If it was tires, we'd bang out the tires and then go back to the oil changes or whatever the case may be. And I'd go back to the diagnostics. I love, that was the stuff that I really enjoyed doing when I was getting to teach, getting to make money, getting to do diagnostics all at once. I think that's what I liked the most. What did you like the most doing?
Man, so I just like the challenge of, I know it sounds vague, but I just like the challenge of getting better every single day. What I mean by that is so when I first started, I used to struggle with electrical. I was actually, I was afraid of electrical until I learned electrical. And it's kind of, once I learned it, man, electrical is kind of weird. Either you know it or you don't know it. If you know what's 1 + 1, it's just like math. If you know how to do math and add and subtract, you'll learn, you know how to do math. So electrical is the same way. If you know how to diagnose electrical, and you know your basic components, your source, your voltage, your battery, your negative, you could diagnose cars. And I didn't understand electrical. I didn't even know how to read a wiring diagram. But once I learned how to do it, it became so much easier. Like it was easy. So guys would struggle on electrical, and they would come to me, and I'll print the wire diagram out, and I'll show them. I'll teach them how to read it. To answer your question, man, it was just like the everyday challenge of getting better. Another example is transmissions. I got my first transmission to do. It took me almost 2 days to do it. And then my second one, I wanted to get better. Like, man, if I could just get this done in a day, it's a success. And then you get it done in a day, and like maybe I could get it done in 3/4 of a day the next one I do. And so it was just like every single day, like just pushing to get better and better and better. With warranty jobs, it might pay 3 hours, and you're like, man, I'm about to lose my tail on this job, and it might take you 8 hours to do it. But eventually you'll find a way to get it done in 3 hours. So that I just love the challenge, the everyday challenges to get better, to learn, to constantly come to work and have an open mindset on getting better, and then teaching the guys around me.
That's awesome.
And teaching the guys around me.
I did this for a period. I didn't keep doing it because I started inundating myself with data, and it was just horrendous because I couldn't get the service team to help me out with it. But logging your hours and looking at the jobs, like this is back when, I was doing so many Excel spreadsheets. I wish I had all of my Excel spreadsheets from back then, because it would show so much time spent on spreadsheets. But like 2010 Jeep Grand Cherokee, at the time we were doing all kinds of intake manifolds and or oil pedestal gaskets and things like that. So I'd write, date, time done, and then if it fixed it or not, because this is back when Mercedes was in bed with Dodge. So there was all kinds of Mercedes stuff and all kinds of Dodge stuff, and nobody knew anything about it. So wow. It was kind of like, does that fix it? Nope. Another dartboard? Nope. That doesn't fix it. Oh, that fixed it. Okay, let's document. Yeah, but I did spreadsheets of all those things. So you're thinking like, first time it took you two days, and the second time it took you a day, and the second time it took you 3/4 a day, and so on and so on and so on. So did you log that stuff?
No, I never logged it. I never logged it. I just took a mental note of it. I wish I did log it. It would probably be actually pretty good data to review. But yeah, I didn't log it, man. That's actually a good idea. I didn't even think about logging it.
Because one thing that's like, it's now so much easier to export data. I never thought about, just literally thinking about it right now, coming up with all kinds of shit right now. I wonder if, because what do you use at your shop right now? CDK?
We use Dealertrack.
I wonder if you could take your top tech, if you could export all of his jobs into, say, a Google spreadsheet, and then break it down into that same kind of stuff and see the times per job. So, and then match them by car and see see how it tracks. And if, as a top tech, you can then use that as a cheat sheet, so to speak, for any of your junior techs or apprentices to say, hey, this is what 10 in this business looks like on a day-to-day basis. This is the kind of hours you make. This is the kind of how it breaks down per day. This is how many warranty jobs. This is how many engine jobs. This is how many suspension jobs. This is the average of those hours per section per that. So if you want to get to this level, you need to be doing that or more, and you're going to spend 2 to 4 hours on a 1-hour job the first time. See, he did this job back in 2018, and this is how long it took him. Your master tech took 4 hours for this 1-hour job 4 years ago. Now he's doing it in 45 minutes.
Wow, that's actually a great idea, Josh. Great idea. That is a great idea.
Awesome. I wonder if you could do that.
I'm gonna look into it tomorrow. I'll follow up for you.
Awesome. Look it up. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, gone through your tech stuff, I want to jump kind of into what you're doing now, what you're proud of, what you're happy about, and then why you transitioned, because it sounds like you were really happy being a tech, really happy getting
Correct.
better every day. Why is it you got out of being a tech?
Okay. All right. So Josh, man, I got an opportunity to become a manager about 5 years ago. I was actually a shop foreman in a shop, in a Nissan dealership, and working on a car. One of my fixed op managers, he called me up and he was like, "Hey, do you want to be a manager?" And at this point in my life, man, I was 28. I thought I made it. I knew I wanted to be a manager at some point in my life, but I wasn't ready at that point. I was 28. I was a shop foreman. I was working 5 minutes away from my house. The shop was mine. You know, everything you worked for as a mechanic, the shop was mine now. So long story short, I decided to take the position, and I was like, now I'm gonna go from being in a hot shop to having an AC office, and I get to relax for a second. I don't gotta work on cars nonstop. And my first week on the job as a manager, I really was contemplating on going back to the shop. I was like, man, this is not.
It takes 5 seconds to realize that once you're in the
Like,
chair, right?
every time I go into my office, somebody bother me, the phone's ringing, a customer's complaining, a technician's complaining, employees complaining, the porter's complaining, it's a car in a parking lot that won't start. I wasn't prepared for it, to be honest with you. I really was not at all.
Did you have
And
anybody tell you? Did you have any of the techs in the shop? Now, did you become a manager from this? You became a manager in the same shop you were a tech at, right?
No, a different company. A
A different
different
company.
company.
Okay. So nobody there knew you, right?
At this company, nobody knew who I were. No.
Even in that chair, did somebody come to you on your first week and say, you were just a tech for however many years, you're never going to be able to do this job?
Yeah, definitely. The
Yeah.
the crazy thing
Day
about
one.
that is, yeah, the crazy thing about that is that I was 20 years old, so now I'm a manager on top of service providers that have 50-year-old guys, old guys, 40-year-old guys, and they all been service writers for 10, 15 years. And I never been a service writer before. So these guys, man, they try to take advantage of me.
And they're probably resentful because you got the job over them, right?
Yes, and they wanted to see me fail. They wanted to see me fail. I didn't take it personal though. I just like whatever I set my mind to, I do, Josh. Whatever it is. So I was dead set that I was gonna become good at being a manager. I became really good at being a technician. So I was like, this is the next step for me in my career. Yeah, instead of fixing one car or being a shop foreman, I could touch more people and help more people. And stayed the course, made plenty of mistakes as a manager. The main thing I learned is that I can't do everything. I try to do every single thing as soon as I got there. I tried to fix cars, help customers, update customers, sweep the floor, make sure, I try to do everything. I stretched myself then, and at the end of the day, I had to learn how to hold people accountable, hire the right people, and hold people accountable doing their own job. And the main thing is building a team around the right people. So that dealership, I actually got transferred from that dealership to a bigger dealership now, a dealership in the city in Metairie, Louisiana. It's a bigger city from where I was at. With a bigger city came more challenges, more technicians, more advisors, but we were successful though. And the techs loved me. In this new dealership, I already established all of the key principles of being a manager, holding people accountable. I made my mistakes in the first dealership I worked in. So when I got to this new dealership, it was for the same company. It was just I got moved to a bigger dealership. And so I came in ready to roll, man. Right off the jump, man. I seen a challenge the technicians faced. A lot of techs, they just they didn't have direction. They didn't have any motivation. They felt like nobody was there for them. You take a tech, turn 20 hours a week, and you help him make 40 hours a week. His lifestyle changes, double his pay in a week. And once that starts happening, they start believing in you. That's when the magic happens. They start talking, and then now their tech friends want to work for you. And now instead of you on Indeed posting ads on Indeed for technicians to come work for you, guys are kind of, hey, you hiring? And
I think Kate said it a couple of weeks ago at STL. The best hiring tool, the best recruiting tool on the market is having a happy shop.
Yes, it is 100% accurate. And we went from doing 350 shop hours a week to doing 800 shop hours a week.
And in what, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days?
No, it took probably about 6 months to get to that level. Right away, right away we made an impact, man, and we moved it. And so then we took that dealership to the level of that. And I'm a real guy, man. And the crazy thing about it is that I had a fixed op guy that was over me, and I was a service manager at this point. and we butted heads. We seen the industry from different perspectives. I was more tech oriented. I knew that the more techs you had, the more shop hours you had available to turn, the more potential you had to make more money at the business. And so like I said, we didn't see eye to eye. So I ended up getting transferred to another struggling dealership. And when I got transferred to this other struggling dealership, it was pretty much we was in the same predicament. We had techs that weren't motivated. We had service advisors that the techs weren't motivated, so they slacked off. So I just revamped the whole crew, man. I got in there. I got a promoted a few loop techs that want to be tech. They want to be technicians. A lot of the older techs, they was in their old ways. They weren't concerned about growing. So I hired a few good techs that came in, promoted a few guys, hired some new advisors. And once again, we took that shop from doing about 200 shop hours a week to doing, just last week, we broke 700 for the first time since I've been there. And I've been there for a little over a year.
700 hours. Nice.
Shop hours. And since I've been there, I got promoted from the service manager position to the parts and service director. And I just love, Josh, man. I love going into broken dealerships and building teams to win. And I love changing people's lives. And part of becoming a manager, I was a technician one day, and one of my techs, he said, Darryl, man, what are you doing here still? And I was like, what do you mean, what am I doing here? He's like, man, you don't have nothing else to prove as a technician, man. You did everything. You stubbed 70, 80 hours a week. You're a master tech, GTL certified. You need to become a manager. And when he told me that day, when he told me that, I didn't absorb it in that day, but over time I slept on it like, man, I really want to help more people. And that's where my passion lays now, man. It's with helping people.
You just come full circle again, because your first big hurdle was, you're trying to chase the money. And as soon as you figure out you're going to fix a car, you just need to fix a car, started making more money. And now again, full circle again, you just got to help people. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about anything else. Just, you got to help people. You got to help your employees first, make sure the crew is taken care of, make sure the crew is happy, make sure they're jiving, get rid of the toxic, get rid of the cancer, make sure everybody's jiving and happy, and the money comes. It might take you 30 days. You might be vanilla thunder, but it might take you 6 months or a year. But if the entire focus is make your crew happy, get them jiving, get everybody working together as a team, money will come. And then you go from 350 shop hours to 800 shop hours in 6 months. My God. And you've done it 3 times. You've done it in 3 stores.
There's no magic formula to it, man. It's just shop morale, communication, clear communication. A lot of times in a shop, people or technicians assume what's not said. So like I said, I like to clearly communicate my expectation. And I like to hear how they feel as well. It's not a one-sided tape. I want to hear their problems. I want to hear their suggestions to get better. They come to me, I got an open door, and we discuss it. And if their problem is, if their solution is better than my solution, we're going to use their solution. It's no shame in my game, man. It's all about getting better and helping the team.
And that big thing there is sometimes it may not be the better suggestion, but it might be a key time for you to get them to possibly fail, but use their suggestion so that they feel like they're included. It's okay, you might be right, I might be right, but we've done mine a whole bunch of times and we haven't done any of yours. And that doesn't give you the opportunity to win. It's me winning. It's not me winning, it's the team winning, but you might need a win. So let's do it your way. If it wins, it wins. If it doesn't win, it doesn't win. But we try. And some folks need that.
Correct. Some folks you can always watch game tape. I like to call it game tape. But you can always, reanalyze something and make adjustments, later on if needed be. I'm a big guy. I have a growth mindset, man. So I'm going to always try and find a way to get better and better and better. And yeah, correct.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please wait while we fix this issue. And now back to the episode. Help, no different than we said earlier, so that I can help a whole lot of people, more specifically help a whole lot of technicians either make more money, more specifically be happy. Because I know a lot of techs out there that are making $110,000, $120,000, $134,000 a year that aren't happy.
100%. I definitely agree with you on that, man.
I think that leads into the one thing that I really want you to convey, if you can, something that you bring that has occurred in the last 15 years of your career in automotive, is what would you say? What is one piece that you experienced that made you happy as a tech that you could pass on, that you think that others may not know to do or may not have or may need to learn?
So the one of the actually the greatest thing I could pass on to any person coming into the industry, any young up and coming technician, is that if hard work beats anything, period. And what I mean by that is that you could be talented. I mean, you could be gifted, but if you don't work hard and put the work in, forget what the naysayers say. I mean, you got to come to work and work hard Monday to Sunday, every week out of the month, every month out of the year. And if you do that, it is no failing, because no matter what anybody say about you, if your work ethic is there and you work hard every single day, no matter what anybody say about you, your numbers, your hours, your shop hours, your production, it all speaks for itself. You don't have to say anything, but just work hard every single day and it would all pay off. And I could attest to that, because when I got into the shop, it wasn't the best situation for me. I got in, a lot of guys, they turned 30 hours in a week, and they was fine with that. And me, I get there and I'm like, hey, what's the top guy turning? They're like 30. And I'm like, it is no way I'm going to be happy turning 30 hours a week. And they're like, well, good luck with that. I don't know. I don't know what you expect out of this shop. And so I got there and I said, look, I'm going to give it, in my mind, I said, I'm going to give it 150% every single day. I don't care what they said. And my first day I turned like 20 hours, and I'm like, man, is this real? Because they told me I couldn't do 30 hours in a week. And what I realized was that their expectation, the way they worked, they just never seen anybody work as hard as I worked. Eventually, they had to work because I made them look so lazy or bad. When you have a guy that's turned 70 hours in a week and you're turning 30, your boss starts to look at you and say, hey, what are you doing, guys? Like, what are you guys doing? So it forced them to raise their level of performance. And by me forcing them to raise their level of performance, they respected me. When I first got there, they didn't respect me because I made them look bad. But once they raised their level, they all started to respect me because they were able to buy nicer cars now. Their wives started loving them more. They just changed their lives, man. And that's what I enjoyed. And then picking the guys up around you, that's where I get my satisfaction from, is literally helping people out, man, and picking them up, man, and just teaching them. Because where I came from, Josh, the average income was like $30,000 a year. So when I got out of that, where I came from, and I was able to make more money, and that technician showed me his paycheck, I said, I'm gonna teach. I'm gonna show every single person, hey, look at this, look what you could do, and that's what I do now. I love promoting loop techs, guys that never ever rinsed in their life, and I love getting them into a dealership, giving them a career path, and then them excelling. And one of the things I say when I interview guys, Josh, I always tell them, I say, look, get ready to make the most amount of money you ever made in your life working for me. And I stay true to that word. And these guys, they get their paychecks and they're smiling. And I'm like, I told you. And look, we're not done. You're gonna make more, I promise you. And that's the single most strongest message I could give you is just hustle hard, man. Give it everything you got every single day.
Everything. Give it. You got to send it, because in this business, it doesn't matter, how much talent you have, because talent will run out.
Correct.
And even if you have lots of talent may not start running out, but hard work will beat talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Any day.
Period. And that, like I got it bloody well fucking tattooed on me, for fuck's
I love
sake.
that. I didn't even know you had it tattooed on you. Wow.
Yeah, I got it tattooed on me. And it's awesome. It's family motto, right? Like it's fourth generation family motto. And the story goes, and I'll tell it to anybody who will listen, and I will tell it over and over and over again. If you're not feeling good, if you're not feeling sick that day, go to work hard. If you're feeling sad, something's not quite right, go to work hard. It'll fix if you work hard. And I don't mean work more and avoid this and avoid that by work. I have those days where I don't want to go home or I don't want to go to work. But if you don't have your anchor in working on something every day, and it's not necessarily working for somebody, you can be working for yourself. Put in the work, because you realize at the end of the day, And there's a make your bed quote in there somewhere as well. But at the end of the day, you've put in your 4, your 6, your 8, your 12 hours, whatever your shift is, if you're working shifts or whatever the case may be. You realize that even if you only made an hour, you worked, you put in the effort, and there is an outcome. Nothing else provides that. Nothing else in life provides that what work does. Even if you feel like you're in a dead-end job in the worst shop in the entire country, if you go to work, you put in the effort, you work hard, at the end of the day, you can say, these are the things that I did today to try and make my life better.
Correct.
Period. And if there is a reason why you can't say at the end of the day that I feel good about what I did today, first look at yourself, because you got to get something's not right here, quite possibly. And that's at my professional wall. If there is something not right there, you need to talk to somebody. You can vent, you can call me to vent, you can text me to vent. I'll be there. I'm there for my wrenches out there. That's why it's wrenches for wrenches. I'm there. But if there's something else in there, you need to seek help. And I lead that back. And I talked to Marshall about this, and I talked to a couple of other techs this past week about this. Being number 3 on the most amount of suicides in US as a mechanic is not okay with me. It means that there are so many of us out there that are struggling for whatever reason. Just going to work isn't enough. Just working hard isn't enough. You need to seek professional help. And I implore you, if you need to talk to somebody, call somebody. Please, please. There are too many people that are going to miss you. So as both a happy and a sad moment, working hard works. And if at the end of the day, you realize that you've worked hard all day and it's still not enough, talk to somebody, please. And that in itself is productive.
That is awesome, Josh. That was awesome. I really appreciate you sharing that, Josh. That was awesome.
Thank you. And do you have anything else you want to, what's your plans next? Like you've been a tech for almost 10 years. You got your master license. You were basically running the show. You got called up to be a manager. You now have been a manager for 5 or so years through 3 stores, and all 3 stores went from, we'll call it from 350 shop hours to 800 shop hours a month. Obviously, fucking crushing.
In a week, Josh. That's in a week.
That's a week. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Okay. I missed the week part. I thought that was a month. Holy Christ, a week. Okay. So you got 3 of those under your belt. What's next? You looking to be like FOD on group or what?
So, man, it's kind of interesting, man. I really like, my ultimate goal is to own my own dealership. I want to be an owner. I want to have my name on my own buildings, but I want to do it the right way. I know it's a lot of learning involved. I don't want to cross any paths the wrong way. Like I said, I just want to do it the right way. So now that I'm a manager, I'm just looking to continue to grow, just looking to give everything I got. And the more people you can help, the more successful you'll be at the end of the day. And I want to bring people up around me. And when I own my own dealership, I'm going to hire, a guy that was with me when, I like to call it the trenches. I'm going to hire the guy that was with me when we were in the trenches, and I'm going to bring them up with me. And they'll be my managers. They'll be my fixed out directors. And we start the process all over again. So that's my goal ultimately, is to own my own dealership. And then probably once I own a dealership, I have bigger goals. Like, I'm really, really competitive. So maybe to own a sports team one day. I dream big, man. And I'm just going to chase my goals until I don't have any more breath left in me. So I literally seen this guy, he was my manager that we've seen every single day, go from being a manager of a dealership to owning his first dealership. And then he bought another dealership and another dealership. So right now he has 8 dealerships that he owns currently. But I actually seen it from 0 stores to 8 stores. So I watched him do it. And, I seen how he was in the action with his first store. And in the second store, he kind of stepped back a little bit and he hired the right managers. And his third store, he stepped back. And now he's driving around on private jets and just buying, real estate properties, and, he's teaming up with the NFL players. And did
he just start from sales?
Yes, he started as a sales manager. And this is the guy in my hometown. Well, not my hometown, but the town I live in now. So I watched him do it. And if I just say, man, like, if he could do it, man, I believe I could do it. And look, man, it's all about hiring the right people, I think, man. He hired like really, really good. Like, when I first started the manager, I had guys that worked for me that they weren't the right guys, and we struggled. And then when I found out, you get the guy that actually do their job, your job gets easier. And then you find other things to do for your job where it gets harder again. And then, it's constant, revolutions.
I think one of the biggest things that I learned while doing contract work I did a whole bunch of contract work for companies that do service or do service work, but aren't necessarily in automotive. And one of the biggest things that I found, and this is what I learned this in the body shop primarily, but then it started to carry forward irrespective of industry, irrespective of area. And they heard that delegation is the key to success. And some people truly don't understand how powerful it can be. Now, there's a limit to how much you can delegate, because you have to have cash flow in order to budget a human being or a process or a tool to do the delegation to. There's a limit, but you have to like bleed to get to that limit. Bleed so that you delegate to that limit until you get through that dry spell of cash flow, until you get more cash flow and delegate more. So you as a service manager, if you had, let's say you had your hand in the wallet of the owner and said, I'm going to yoink 50K out of that. I can spend 50K on one, or I can spend 50K on two people. Let's say it's two, 25K a piece, entry level something to delegate to. What would be those two positions so that you could make your store run 100 times better with two bodies? What would you add into your store?
I would actually add an internal writer, somebody to deal with the sales department. Instead of having my advisor deal with them, I could have one person delegate to dealing with just the sales department. That's an entire job within itself. And then I would add somebody to help my warranty admin out with processing work, repair orders. So the store I came from, the store where we started when I first got here, like we went from doing 300 shop hours. So now he's doing 800 shop hours, and the amount of tickets he has to process is almost doubled from what he's used to. So he's constantly working nonstop across the clock. So I would definitely get him some help with making sure the warranty schedules are being cleaned up and all the warranty claims are being processed. And then I will also add an internal writer.
Well, I think we've got everything that we need from here.
Let's roll, man. I appreciate it. Like I said, I appreciate the invite again, man. Thanks a lot, brother. You have a great night, brother.